Actually, I'm not sorry.
I actually really, really enjoy my body, and I want other people to as well. Hello, everybody. I'm Kaz, and turns out this is for the culture. A lot of my responses sexually as a teen were trauma responses and came from a place of like where I had been sexually abused and assaulted. I know that shaped a lot of the decisions that I made as a teen and in my 20s around sexuality. Like waking up next to a random body and being like, this cannot be my life. And thinking that if I am the one who is the more sexual person, it means I'm not giving anybody an opportunity for me to say no, you know? So I'm stepping forward and being like, I'm the one who picked you, you're coming home with me. Like it felt like there was a way in which I had more control by being hypersexual. Therapy helped me to understand that all of my sexual experiences were just coming from a place of trauma. So learning that and understanding what a very troubled and traumatizing childhood how it can affect your life. For me, I'm like, how can I prevent all of the things that I went through from happening to teenagers in my country, because we're not getting the education that we need or the information that we need to make informed decisions. And I wanted to find my voice. You know how they always say, find your unique voice and then create content around it, and people will just automatically be drawn to you. So as somebody who wanted to be a content creator in the digital era, having worked in television, and having been a musician for the longer part of my life, I was in a space where a lot of different aspects of sexuality were discussed openly and without shame. I've always been the person that people came to for advice. Like I've always drawn people in to speak about their personal experiences. Maybe this is something that I can do. Let's create a podcast. Yay! No, you're not broken. You're different. Just the same way I'm different. I don't orgasm like you, so I'm different. About 6 years ago, we started the Spread podcast, me and my former co-host. And it was just like really interesting conversations about sex. Our slogan has always been creating safe spaces for people to speak openly about their sexuality. And so wherever the space can be safe, we will create it, be it physical or be it, at home listening to podcasts or watching reels or showing up for our events. Whichever way the Spread can create this form of safety for you, this is our highest agenda. And I found that this is one place that almost every different experience that I've had in my life had meaning in this new part of my life.
And I was like, look, there's something that I really, really want to ask you, and I just don't know how to ask you. And she's like, whatever it is that you want to ask me, the answer is yes. I was like, well, this is easier than I thought.
So we're just like,
it's like, how's that?
The more that I started to learn things about other people and how people experience sexuality, I felt like there were so many people coming to me asking for advice, and I felt like, I don't feel like I am the right person to give you responses, because more than anything, I didn't have the certification. So I may have the knowledge, but then if something happens to somebody, I don't have anything to back it with. And about a year into the podcasting journey, I decided to start taking courses on sex education. And so that I can be like, yeah, I can actually teach this in the way that I choose to, which is through digital content. When you do introduce yourself as a sex educator or even a sex therapist, people stop at the sex. They don't even hear what happens after. Because I get the question so often, like, oh, so you're going to teach me how to have sex? I'm like, no, that's not my job. I focus mostly on, actually almost entirely on speaking to teens and young adults about sexuality and about different aspects of sexuality, be it reproductive health, how to just live this life queerly and safely, how to have conversations and communication with your partner about different aspects of sexuality. Yeah, just pretty much like the basics and the ABCs for young people who are sort of coming to and being curious about their bodies, about their sexuality, about their pronouns. We still are living the effects of colonialism today in Kenya. And that it plays a really big role in everything because Christianity, and religion generally, which is something that was brought to us, whereas before we had cultural, spiritual practices. And this sort of like Christian white man way of thinking is so deeply embedded in our families that by the time we start to learn about ourselves or experience different things happening to our bodies, then you're shy. You've been told, shut your legs when you sit, cross your legs. You've been told as soon as you get your first period, don't talk to boys. You've been told there's only a gender binary. You've been told that there's only one way in which you're supposed to practice your sexuality. And so when you start to feel things are not the same as what has been rammed into our heads, then we have questions, and then you don't know who to ask questions to because you've been told not to talk about these things. So people are carrying so much stigma in their lives. It's a burden that everybody is carrying everywhere they walk because they don't have anybody to talk to. So I figured if I can create a platform where people can honestly and openly speak about their sexuality and ask questions, and like it's a free space, like, look, I swear nobody here is going to hurt you, like it's a safe space, then definitely creating a better future, creating more independent human beings, because knowledge is power. It really is. So the more people know, ideally it's the better, but it's really politically it's not the better because again, the way of politics and the way that we've been colonized is to shut us up. But here we are trying to be loud and trying to be proud. The conversations around you not having sex shouldn't disturb you. Because if you've already made the decision that this is something that you want to do and you've created your boundaries, it's not anything you need to discuss, even just like in a teasing manner or in a way that's going to make you feel uncomfortable. A better part of my life has been spent with me protecting myself from people who are like keyboard warriors. And even before I started my journey with sex education, when I was a musician, I still used to get really bullied. Actually, even when I was in high school, I don't know what it is. Is there a sticker on my body that I'm the only one that doesn't see that says, please bully me? Because by the time I was in sex ed, I had already had so much like slut shaming and just people saying whatever they want to say, negative stuff. And I honestly, I have, unfortunately, and I don't wish this on my worst human, developed thick skin for this thing. And people keep asking, one of the questions that I get often is like, how do you keep standing up after such a beating? I actually really, really enjoy my body. And I want other people to as well in the way that I do. So this is a reason why I share it. And I don't feel pressured to play a sexy role. But I also understand that sex sells. So it's like a really fine line that I'm treading on between like, actually, I'm just entirely being myself. And also, this will push up the numbers, right? So it's a little bit of those two things. But one of the things, like for the spread, for example, one of the things that I'm trying to do more of is remove, other than the educational videos, I'm trying to remove more of like the personal aspects of me from showing up on the spread page, so that if you do want to have a little sample of me, you can go onto my personal page, which is more personal. And then just trying to keep the spread for what it is entirely, because I know that I drove that page by being myself and creating a lot of like self content. And now that I have like, decent number of like strongholds who are just like gripping onto every bit of information that I share. I don't see the need to use my body to sell a product, but it does help. I think sex positivity is misconstrued by a lot of people who don't understand what the term is. And I honestly believe that sex positivity is like money. It's like having money. Sometimes you want to dress every day like Mark Zuckerberg, who has a shit ton load of money, but doesn't want to show it. And sometimes you want to dress like Rick Ross, who wants to show all the money that he possesses. And I feel like similarly, sex positivity is this thing where when you find your thing, which you find comfortability and safety in around sexuality, and you're comfortable and confident with having the information, feeling the way you do, and this includes people that are asexual, this includes people that are not able-bodied, entirely for anybody. When you find your space, your sexual utopia, where you feel safe and confident enough to ask questions, you feel safe and confident enough to have conversations about safety with a new partner, you feel safe and confident enough to ask about boundaries and consent around different kink aspects with partners, and having just like no shame around the fact that you're an ever learning human being and everything is evolving, so we continue to learn. The spectrum keeps growing larger and larger, and we keep having to learn more and more. And understanding that, like, I'm a human being. I know that I don't know everything about sexuality. I know that I'm a sexual being. I know that I'm healing. I know that in my healing journey, I need to let people be aware of what my situation is. Just sort of like these little aspects of just embodying your true self and being authentic, because I think that allows you to learn more and to experience more and to experiment more with your sexuality.
What advice would you give to somebody who wants to start and grow a platform that is as gorgeous as yours?
It took me a while to find my voice when it came to creating content around sexuality, even though I already was a content creator. I do understand that for people who are setting foot into the digital world now, it might take some time. Some people may already have their story and share stories that people want to listen to. Some people don't. But what I would say is like the backbone of all of those things is to present an authentic and vulnerable version of yourself. And vulnerable doesn't mean that every month you send out a video of you crying because it's raining in Nairobi, there's definitely a line between being vulnerable and like oversharing, and finding that is also the sweet spot. And yeah, people are really intrigued by stories, real human stories. So the more that you can create relatability around your content, then I think you're definitely going the right path, because the world will never have enough different stories. So there is always room for people to keep creating.
Actually, I'm not sorry.